dear brothers and sisters. Who can this be? Hey, it's Pastor Mark. You probably didn't recognize me. We are here, dear friends, because we have got another book of the Bible starting imminently. The book of Ruth. Little book, only 4 chapters in the Bible, but very important. Ruth is one of only 2 books of the Bible named after a woman, and in some ways it's similar. The other one is Esther, but in some ways it's way different. Esther happened way later on the other side of all the kings of Israel, and that book never mentioned God. This book happened back in the time of Judges, which, as we've been reading through Judges, it is crazy times squared, is it not? But this one is full of stories of faithfulness, fidelity to God, and it's a glorious story. First of all, the name Ruth means friend or companion, and she truly shows an exemplified form of companionship. It starts tragically. A mother and her 2 daughters all become widows, and those widows could wander off and try to find other men, but Ruth said, no, I'm going to stick with you. In fact, one of the most famous verses in this book is in chapter 1, verse 16, where Ruth says, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will become my people, and your God will become my God. She really stuck by her mother-in-law, a beautiful example of loving relationship. I kind of wish that this story was included in the book of Judges because it could even out all the bad stories that were in there. And this was during the time of the Judges when, as that book testified, everyone did as they saw fit individually. But here we see great examples of loyalty, companionship, friendship, goodness. It's a really encouraging thing. Now, there is some debate about who authored the book of Ruth. Some say that it was authored by Samuel, but at the end, it talks so strongly of David as like a dynasty king with the genealogies. It's actually not likely that it was written during his lifetime, likely later during the kings, or maybe even during the exile period. But this is a delightful account of faith and piety in an otherwise dark era of those judges. Also, they say that the literary style probably fits later in Israel's history rather than earlier. Now, this is still a part of Jewish readings. They read it regularly in the synagogues, and according to their calendar, they read it about when Pentecost comes around. And interestingly, though God is talked about a lot, you don't see God acting overtly in the book of Ruth. He certainly has his plans going on behind the scenes and how things resolve, but you don't see any overt miracles going on. Several strong themes that are in the book of Ruth are things like perseverance and adversity, through faith, personal loyalty and devotion, hope despite desolation, and reversal from loss to gain. All of this in the context of faithfulness to God and God being faithful in the long term, even though we can't see how in the short term. So for that, it is highly relevant to us who have to live our lives day by day, trusting in God in the long term, but sometimes saying, where is he in the midst of our devastation? There's also a really good piece of news here, given that this is the Old Testament, this is the Israel period. Ruth is a Moabite, and you may remember that the Moabites and the Israelites fight a lot. But this shows the principle that participation in God's kingdom isn't strictly ethnic or biological, but participating in the principles of his kingdom. And so Ruth wanted to be a part, as we talked about with that verse with Naomi, and indeed she became a key part. The concept of redemption is huge in Ruth. Some derivation of the word redemption or redeem is in there over 20 times, 23 times in 4 short chapters. So look for that redemption and then ask yourself, are there symbols for God's redemption in the book of Ruth? Of course, the happy ending, it finishes with a genealogy that she becomes the ancestor of King David. And obviously in the old worldview where genealogies and ascendancy and descendancy were so important, that is a great happy ending. But for we as Christians, there's even a greater happy ending, is that she is one of the ancestors of Jesus. If you read Matthew 1 verse 5, Ruth is one of very few women that is listed. She persevered, she did something daring and bold in faith. I won't give it away right now because we're going to see it through the chapters. You've probably read Ruth at some time if you're a Christian. It's not a long read or a hard read, but we're going to go through it, we're going to examine it, and we're going to see there's just great examples of loving relationships from Naomi to Ruth, Ruth and Naomi, Ruth to Boaz, and Boaz is very good to Naomi because Naomi, in a secondary sense, becomes his mother-in-law. So, We are in for a treat with this little nugget of a book, only going to be in it for a few days, but I wanted to share this book overview with you so that we can talk about the whole context of it, not just what happens in chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. Feel free to comment below if the book of Ruth has been a blessing to you. I guess you could say the book of Ruth touches my family personally. My paternal grandmother, her name was Ruth, and so I can't help but read the name Ruth in the Bible and not think of my dear grandmother. Yeah, the name's really falling out of usage now recently. Maybe it'll swing back. A lot of biblical names are swinging back into popular usage. Maybe Ruth will come back. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to this journey together, and I pray that you are blessed, you and your families, as we continue through the Bible in 2021. God bless you all. Take care. Bye.